Gills fans, welcome back to another episode of GITBTV. It is another match day review showtime, and as you can see, I am recording again immediately after Saturday's game in the car, going home from what was a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Stuart Maynard's Notts County. I think similarly to the Doncaster game, there were bits that we did well, there were bits that we didn't do well, but ultimately we're just not as good as Notts County at the moment. Like, we weren't good enough to get anything against Doncaster Rovers. There was a lot of huff and puff. There was another positive start, but I want to start with team news first. If we go back to 11:30 Saturday morning for the early kickoff, there was a couple of changes from Tuesday night's draw. Jack Nolan and Joe Bode dropped to the bench. In came Jimmy J Morgan and Elliot Nevitt, and I think I was quite excited because I thought it was going to be a diamond. I thought it was going to be them two up front and a midfield quartet of Aisha Agbenoni at the point of said diamond, and then Robbie McKenzie sitting with Amani Little and Nelson Kumbeni from the sides. But it quickly became apparent when the game started that we were playing a 4-5-1, so 3 central midfielders, and then we had Agbenoni on the left, that's no drama in itself because he was good from the left against Grimsby. But we had Jimmy J Morgan, who I thought we'd signed as a striker, playing wide right, and Elliot Nevitt was isolated again. Started really fast, to be fair, didn't we? We kept the ball really well. We got into a couple of good areas. There was one ball fizzed across the box, I think, from Shalogi, who'd overlapped from left back, and Morgan couldn't quite stretch to get a finishing touch. But once that initial sort of 10-15 minute burst had played out from us, teams know that if we don't score, then if they get the first one, it's very difficult for us to get anything from the game, and that's exactly as it proved again, sadly, wasn't it? Notts County got the ball, they started to get Jody Jones involved, they started to get David McGoldrick involved. I thought they'd done well to keep Alessandra Jatta quiet. Glenn Morris had to make a really big save, doesn't he, before they do take the lead, and it could have been 1 or 2 before the opener eventually comes. And there is an element of luck for the Magpies. I think the corner comes in, it's a good header from Robbie McKenzie, makes the first contact. Unfortunately there it bounces against the County player. Robbie then tries to flick a leg at it but can't get any sort of meaningful contact, and Nick Zarula was on hand to lash it home from no more than a couple of yards. At the time you could probably say it was a little bit harsh on us, but unfortunately 1 quickly became 2, and the second goal's not great. We don't cover ourselves in glory again. How many times have I said that this season? We park like the Red Sea in the middle of the park, and you give a player of David McGoldrick's calibre that type of time and space, and he's not going to miss. And it's a really impotent finish, isn't it? It's brilliant, to be fair. He sees Glenn Morris come out, he's in no man's land, he just stands it up over him, doesn't he, into the back of the net, and from there you're thinking that's definitely done. The afternoon's over. We haven't scored a goal for ourselves since the 20th of December. We haven't scored twice in a game since the 20th of December. We haven't won a football match since the 14th of December. Odds were certainly stacked against us. Yeah, there was very little that came back in the way of us in an attacking sense after that. And I've already mentioned that the Jimmy J Morgan selection, I couldn't understand that if you buy him as a striker, and I might be way off the mark, but that's what I thought we bought him as, a centre forward. I think that's where he plays for Chelsea in Premier League too. So I didn't get sticking him wide out on the right. It meant that he was a duck out of water, a fish out of water, or whatever the saying is. And Elliot Nevitt, as I've already mentioned, was isolated if he did get the ball and was able to bring it under control. Thankless task, against 3 big centre halves yet again for Elliot. Barely got any service. But yeah, I just also couldn't understand why John Coleman played 3 more defensive-minded midfielders. I'm not saying complete, they're not all sitters. Robbie McKenzie definitely comes under that bracket. I suppose you could say Kumbeni and Little are box to box, but Coleman said when he came in that he wants to try and win every game. Then set us up to try and win every game, John. That would be my question to you in this one, because you've got our top scorer, probably one of very few players, if not the only one, in Jaden Clark, who's playing with confidence. 9 goal contributions this season, 7 goals, 2 assists. Barely been seen in the last couple of weeks. Don't understand that. You've got Bradley Dack, if he's fit, should be starting at home. For me, we should have sacrificed one of that midfield trio of Mackenzie, Kumbeni or Little. Probably Kumbeni because he's new to the club, and played Daki as a 10. Someone who could get close to Nevitt and play off of him. Because we played 3 central midfielders and Notts County just had the freedom of the middle of the park all too often throughout that first half. Certainly after the opening goal, half time came and it was definitely something that we needed, because we needed to get in and change it slightly. We did make a change. It was one that I didn't see coming. One of our bright spots first half was Aisha Akbinoni, wasn't it, Ava? We thought he was pretty decent first half. He wanted to get the ball and run at his man and create stuff, didn't he? But so it was a bit sad to see him come off at half time, weren't we?
Yeah.
But Joe Bode come on, and obviously he did have an impact on the game, which we'll get to. So that was the only half-time tweak. It was a straight swap. There was no change in the system. Nevitt was still isolated. Jimmy J Morgan still looked uncomfortable out on the right to me, barely got a kick. We played with a bit of intent again, didn't we? You'd expect that coming out 2-0 down, shooting towards the Raynham end, but I think I might be right, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. We've still not won a football match in the league this season going towards the Raynham end second half. All our victories have come when Maxime has lost the toss and been turned around. And I want to touch on our captain today, because it's not fun being a Gillingham fan at the moment, is it? Like I said, we've not won a game since the middle of December, so it's nearly 2 months ago. We don't score goals, we're not fun to watch. It's not even like we're losing games 4-3 and 5-4. At least you get some entertainment and value for your dollar at the moment. But first half, we kept trying to play short, and it clearly wasn't working. I think once we gave it away, shortly after we gave a free kick away in a dangerous area, and for me, the crowd rightly made Glenn Morris and our defence very aware that it wasn't working. Just get the ball up the pitch and play from there. When you're 2-0 down, you don't want the ball near your own goal. When you're playing without confidence, you don't want the ball near your own goal. So just play the percentages, I guess is what I'm saying. And the Raynham men made their feelings clear. Max Ema as captain cannot bite back, cannot gesture or scream and shout at our fans, for me, because we're not playing well. Our form's not good enough. Just all the things I've already said. Don't make a difficult situation more difficult by biting back at the people that pay your wages. Anyway, that's enough about that. Like I said, second half we come out, we played with a bit of intensity. We got into good areas again without really threatening, without really forcing Alex Bass into a save. But what we have to remember as well is the fact that Notts County are going to play in second and third gear, second period. They're not going to come out and be open and try and play expansive football. They're going to sit on what they've got. They know we don't score goals, so if they're sensible and manage things properly, chances are they win 3 points. We made attacking changes midway through the second period, didn't we? There was a triple substitution in one go. Who came off over? Was it Nelson Kumbeni, Nevitt, and I'm trying to think of the other one. Who was the other change? Oh, and Jimmy J Morgan. And we brought on Bradley Dack, we brought on Jaden Clark, and we brought on Aaron Rowe. So it meant a bit of a reshuffle. It meant Joe Bode going to play as a centre forward, which he'd done really well on Tuesday night at Grimsby. I thought he led the line superbly. So again, question marks over why he's been taken out of the 11. It's not like he's being replaced by someone who's free scoring. We replaced him with Elliot Nevitt, who's got 1 league goal. Incidentally, I read on social media, Elliot Nevitt was the last striker to score for us in the league, 21st of September. And also been replaced by a kid who's fresh out of a Premier League academy, who's not got any senior football under his belt. So I thought that was very harsh on Joe. But yeah, he went through the middle. We had Aaron and Jaden from the sides, Daki off of Joe, and then it was Robbie and Armani Little patrolling in front of the back 4. Joe was putting himself about like he does. Referees started getting involved, becoming centre of attention, made some very dubious decisions for both sides. I think the one that got to us the most from Gillingham perspective was the fact that when he stopped the play so a player could get treated, he wasn't even on the pitch. But I also don't understand our fans abusing Notts County players for some of the stuff that was going on. Jody Jones blatantly got kicked by Elliot Nevitt when the ball had gone. It was a yellow card all day long. it's just like I said, it's not fun, is it, being a Gills fan? It's not good to watch. It feels like a chore. The escapism that we've spoke about in previous weeks of going to watch the football with your mates or your daughter and your family isn't fun. Poor Ava doesn't want to really come anymore, do you, mate? Because we're not very good at the bottom, and that's the bottom line, which makes me sad because it's something that we do together. But I can totally understand hers and others' points. Why would you want to go and sit in the cold every Saturday and watch us get beat and watch us not play well and watch us keep making the same mistakes? Chore, like I say, it is the big word. But yeah, there was a little bit of hope in the final few minutes of the game, and Armani Little had drilled one down the keeper's throat. We'd had a couple of balls fizzed across the box, a few bits got blocked, and then from one corner with about 10 minutes to go, Armani Little's delivery was on the money. I think for one of the few times, unfortunately, a couple of times he did just put crosses down the throat of the goalkeeper, which was unfortunate, but this time Armani's delivery was absolutely spot on, and Joe Bode managed to rise in front of his man and nod it in past Alex Bass, and it gave us hope again, didn't it, Ava? There was about 10 minutes to go, and that's what watching Gills does to you, unfortunately. But all jokes aside, yeah, we huffed and we puffed and tried to get that leveller, but we never really put them under enough pressure, did we, to get that equaliser? And would it have been justified? Maybe, maybe not. Like I say, I think you have to take into account the fact that Notts County were playing with the handbrake on for the entire second half. They were quite happy to let us have the ball in front of them and then try and pick us off on the break. We made it a little bit tougher for them with Bode's goal, but ultimately it's another defeat at home. It's now 4 games since John Coleman came in, and what have we had in terms of performances? 25-30 minutes against Doncaster, didn't show up against Tranmere, had to rely on an own goal to earn a point there. Really good second half against Grimsby, but didn't take our chances and it come back to bite us on the arse. Good 10 minutes start of the game today, 10-15 minutes, and then probably decent last 15 minutes, but the caveats, like I say, are Notts County allowing us the football. Bottom line is we scored 1 goal in 4 games under John Coleman from our own players. We scored only 3 in 4 in total, and we've taken a grand total of 2 points from a possible 12, and they've both come on the road. Again, I'm not going to go in too much on John or Jimmy Bell because they've not been here long, but does it then beg the question again that it doesn't matter who the manager is trying to, the captain trying to steer the ship? If Walter's getting in all the time, then you're going to sink. And talking of sinking, I've not looked at the league table, but are we in a relegation battle? I think that's the big question now, because we played first, haven't we, this weekend, and by the time you lot watch this, other games could have gone against us. We could have sunk a bit lower. Personally, I don't think we will go down. I've seen enough in fleeting moments in these 4 games under Coleman to suggest that we won't be in any real danger, but the longer the winless run goes on, the more harder it gets, because confidence continues to be chipped away at, self-belief continues to be eroded, belief amongst the fan base continues to be eroded. I don't know, everybody keeps saying got to stick together, but it's tough when your team's not playing well and your team's not scoring goals, and your team ultimately is not winning football matches, excuse me, just while I choke. But what we got to keep doing, and I know I mentioned last week that I'm not going to do away days until I've seen a fundamental change, and that isn't going to change at the moment. I can't justify spending that amount of money, but I'll be there every home game. And as much as it was better today against Notts County, unfortunately the result is still 0 points. I think the bright spots are probably Joe Bode's performance from the bench in the second half. I thought Sam Gale was solid enough again, coming up against an absolute mountain in Alassane Jatta, who's got 17 goal contributions. I know Joe was given as man of the match, wasn't he, over by the sponsors? Did you agree with that? Did you think he was deserving of man of the match for his goal? Was there anyone else? We've already mentioned Agbanoni, haven't we? Was good first half but had to come off. Thought Aaron Rowe showed little moments when he came on, but no more than that. And I thought Sam Gale was a contender, purely on the basis that not once did he shirk his task against, you know, arguably the best attacking unit in the division, if not one of the best. But yeah, unfortunately, as I say, despite positives, again we've come out with 0 points. Again we've lost a football match. Again we've struggled to create too much in the way of clear-cut chances, and it's another defeat that we're having to sit here and talk about, sadly. I do appreciate you watching and listening. A couple of fans have come up to me today in the ground and said, like, fair play for continually churning out content, because it can't be fun, and it's not. I would much rather we be giving you videos talking about wins, talking about goals and creativity, and us being up the top end of the league table where we all want us to be. But I can only say it as I see it, like everybody else. It's only an opinion. We can all disagree the right way, but I do appreciate you watching. I do appreciate you listening. So please continue to hit that like button. Please consider pressing subscribe, because as I say, it is free to do so. Slightly different this coming week. I'll be back middle of the week with Reese and Jack for our next episode of Gills in the Pub. Obviously all the fallout from the Mark Bonner sacking, the January transfer window, and the ongoing poor form. So that'll be another fun exercise. Won't be going to Holker Street next week, so fair play to any of you that are making the trip to Barrow. And yeah, and then back with a review of sorts after the Barrow game next weekend. But yeah, hope you've all had a decent weekend. You know what I'm going to say again, football aside, and I will leave Ava with the final 3 words before we go.